Good evening. You know, the Zohar teaches that for King David to be a proper king, he needed to have the blood of a warring nation in him. And that's why his great grandmother was from the nation of Moab, and the king Eglon, and the daughter Ruth, who was a princess, migrated into Am Yisrael through the judge and prophet Boaz, and King David came from that line. So there's a hereditary mixing going on here that the Zohar is pointing out to us. And it says, because a Jewish king is too kind to be king. Now, isn't that interesting? Too kind to be king. Now, the prophet Samuel said to the people, when they asked for a king, he said, you have a king. You're rebelling against your king by asking for a king of flesh and blood, a human king. You have a king in heaven. He is in your midst. He's the mirror every time you turn a corner. He's the shadow on your shoulder. He's the breeze that carries history in one breath. He's the judge that doesn't need anybody to present any evidence to know the truth. He's yours. And you want a king, a human king, limited in every way? I'll give you one. And he gave us the king Shaul, and Saul was a righteous man. And he was divinely guided to become king. But he wasn't the king to begin with. He was the king after the fact. If the people had been on the level, they wouldn't have needed a human king. They would have all turned to their Father in heaven, and he would have guided them. He would have done the miracles necessary to protect them, just like the miracles were done to protect the Jews when they came out of Egypt. But you say, wait a second here. Are we allowed to rely on miracles? No, we're not. Because to be at the level of a miracle, that's like walking into the casino and thinking you're going to win. Now, you might have the feeling you're going to win. A lot of times you don't. But the idea that King David had to have the blood of Moab in him so he could be tough enough, cruel enough when it came to passing judgment as king, because back in the day, the kings were also judges. They weren't just sitting, at the end of the red carpet, receiving people and toasting with champagne. So it's an interesting thing. You look today, you see the Jewish people have leaders, but I think they need a little bit of that spark of King David, that spark of Ruth, who came from a non-Jewish king. And they apparently knew how to deal with their people in a way to keep them in line. And that was what King David needed, and I think we need some of that today. And if you look at the Jewish leaders, they've got to ask themselves, who do I follow? Who is my role model? How do I treat these murderers, still killing in the streets innocent people? People that are happy to die for a false cause. And of course, we have the true cause. So let's think about this a little bit, especially before the next election. God bless you all.